right, well, I know we'll continue to have people join in. And again, welcome to everybody that has joined us today. We're really excited to present part 2 of preparing for the rebound. This is a session on data mining. And we have with us today Chuck Salem, the CEO and co-owner of Unique Venues, who's going to go through his presentation on the various ways in which you can mine for new leads. Those of you that have been with us before kind of know how this works. Everyone's going to stay on mute throughout the webinar so that Chuck can get through his presentation and we can manage things. If you have a question for Chuck specifically about the presentation, something that he's covering in there or something related to the topic of data mining, please use the Q&A dialog box. Hover over your dashboard or look at your Zoom buttons and you'll see a Q&A button. You can click on that and you can submit questions that then other participants can upvote or downvote, so we prioritize them. And then I will, during breaks that Chuck takes, feed him questions to answer live for the group, and some of them may answer in writing myself. I will also run some polls in the background in addition to the standard demographics and session evaluation. We've got 3 specifically for today around data mining, customer relations management, and lead management. So I'll kick those off. Be watching the chat box or look for the poll to pop up or your poll button to flash depending on your Zoom configuration. And then finally, if you have comments to share with everyone, go ahead and send them to all panelists and attendees, or if you have other questions off topic that you'd like to ask of the group for those that are engaged, feel free to do that. And again, Allie, who is our Director of Marketing, is also here, and she's going to help us today. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck to share his screen and get us started today.
All right, thank you so much, Joel. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Can everyone see my screen? Let me get a thumbs up, Joel. Is my screen shown okay? Good. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us today. As you know, in this really very strange time, we've been trying to provide some educational resources online through webinars and opportunities for all of us to get together and convene in an unconventional way, but to go ahead and communicate about different topics. And one of our series is preparing for the rebound. And we do believe that there will be a rebound and it will be very soon. Let me just give you a little bit of good news that I'm going to share with you, because we've been gathering some information here in Unique Venues. So right now, leads are down 75%, and that doesn't sound like good news, but the good news for me is that we still are getting 25% of the leads, even in this time that we used to get so many more. We're getting 25% of the leads we typically get, but here's the best news. Our profile views are only down 25%. So that means people are still looking at you. As we like to say, they're looking, they're just not booking, but they're doing their research right now. And so there is going to be great opportunity for us. We've also pulled meeting planners in the past couple of weeks. We've worked with thousands of people over the past 2 weeks as far as our webinars go. And we've been doing lots of polling, which I believe there's one up on your screen right now with just some demographics. But when we were doing some polling with planners last week, what we were finding was basically that about 20% of planners, this is the only bad news, about 20% of planners see a decrease in meetings and events being planned after the crisis is over. And then here's our okay news, about 50% foresee maintaining the same level of meetings and events being planned after. I guess that's good news. But here's the great news. 30% of the planners polled, and we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of planners, indicated that they actually see an increase in meetings and events being planned following the crisis. So when we put this whole series together, it's with the intention of providing you with tools to be ready when the floodgates open, because they are going to open and people are going to be really wanting to gather. Think about your own perspective. I'm sure there's nobody on here who cannot wait to get out there and do the things that you used to do, and will embrace the opportunities to get together. So we want to help you be ready and grow the data so that you can be proactively reaching out now to planners over these next several months. Now, everything we do, and those of you who have seen my presentations before, you know that this is my mantra. This is what I live by. I believe in the image that you see right now. I believe in what they call the traditional marketing funnel, and that each and every thing and action we take with any particular potential new piece of business, we should set out with intention to create awareness of our venue, get them to engage with us, to become more familiar and learn more about our venue, to have opportunities to discover or try or take for a test ride our venue, to contract with us, and then to become loyal customers. And so the problem is, so if this is truly a funnel, the top of the funnel is the widest, and that's where you're dumping in all of the potential clients that you can have. The problem we know from talking to the venues we work with, the over 1,000 venues we work with, is that data is not our strong suit. And the reason that data is not our strong suit isn't because we don't know what we're doing. It's because many of us don't have the time to gather or harvest data. So right now is an opportunity, again, the silver lining or an unintentional consequence of this whole crisis is that we now have more time to do some of these things. And the benefit for us is that this is an indispensable, I always like to use that word right now, indispensable, this is an indispensable activity that can help us to grow our business post the crisis. So investing time and energy into this right now is one of the best gifts that you can give you and your venue. So we're going to learn today some resources to gather data and why and how you can use that data to go deeper into the funnel. So, and I'm gonna share with you an anecdote. Those of you on here, probably 90% only know me from the perspective of being the CEO of Unique Venues, my interactions with you at Unique Venues. But I have walked in your shoes. I am a self-taught marketer. I've told people that many times. Don't let that scare you. I always tell people that Santana is a self-taught guitarist, and he's good. So I hope you'll trust me on this. But I was tasked with growing business for a conference and events venue in Pennsylvania. And data is what helped me to achieve hitting all of my financial goals or exceeding them year after year after year. Data was invaluable to me. And so I'm very big on the whole notion of harvesting and gathering data and using it to grow our businesses. The approach we're going to talk about today is a clustering approach. So there's all different kinds of ways to approach data. And a clustering approach is basically gathering and getting pieces of information based on certain characteristics that are of value to you to know and to understand your potential client base. So examples of that might be market segments or geographic regions. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but we're going to, I want you to think from a perspective of trying to gather as much relevant data about potential clients as you possibly can. Now, when you're gathering data, it's important to be intentional with this entire project from start to finish. So the most important thing is to know who your audience is. Who are those people, when you go back to that funnel, who are the people that you want to dump in to the top of your funnel so that you can start interacting with them and having different campaigning with them and start engaging with them and giving them the opportunities to discover more about your venue? Who are they? What are the market segments they represent? Where are they from geographically? You want to make sure a miner never goes into a mine and digs for anything unless they've done their research and they know exactly where to go for the mining. So you have to do the same thing. Do not expend any of your precious time and energy that you have right now on looking for data that's not useful for you. So you want to make sure that you are very focused and you've thought out who is it that is best to go after and to add to my database at this point. We're going to go through a number of resources today that will help you to find some audience prospects. And so you want to pay attention. This is the end result that we're going for here is that the people that you're identifying in this show to you or demonstrate to you some level of potential to do business with you, to book at your venue. So if you're a camp or retreat venue, you might not be looking at some of the data for these big high-end corporate conferences for that, but you may want them because you may want to reach out and say, do you ever do retreats, board retreats, or leadership retreats? We can help you with those things. So make sure when you're looking for your audience, you're looking at them more from just a primary focus, but look at them as a secondary focus. I was thinking a lot today about our special event venues that are with us today. And special events can be life events that are typically one-off. So you're not going to have a 50th anniversary party over and over again, and you can't Google lists of people celebrating 50th anniversaries. That's not out there. But there are some ways to find people who specialize in social and life events. We're going to go through that a little bit today. But you also have a great opportunity when we're looking. So when I'm showing some resources that you can look at that have potential for corporate conferences and events, you can also pull that information and say, well, if they're going to have a conference and they're going to be in Washington, D.C., maybe they can have their event with us. Or they're going to be in Pittsburgh, maybe they can have their event with us. So try to think of each one of these from a very multifaceted viewpoint, okay? You want to make sure that you take your audience and you want to add them to your prospects list. And we're going to talk a little bit about coding so that you know a little bit more about who that person is and what potential they present for you. And then we're going to talk at the end about taking some of this data and connecting. Today's really about data mining. So a lot of the connectivity that you can do, you can listen to some of the other presentations that we've recorded on uniquevenues.com/resources, like, sales part 1 and sales part 2 and those types of things. But we will also talk a little bit about connecting today. So first of all, now, I am certain that there are people on here today, because if I'm seeing this correctly, there's 252 people currently listening to this presentation at this time. And some of you most likely have very deep data-driven information. You have customer relations management and sales management systems that are deep and heavy and have tens of thousands of contacts. Most likely, though, the majority of you don't. You may have spreadsheets. You may not even have spreadsheets at this point. Or you may have a free version of some type of, CRM that's out there. And so we have to try to talk from a point of what the least of these may have, right? So when I'm talking about data to capture, I apologize if some of you might have some deeper data than what I'm putting on here. But here is, to me, what the most critical information is for you to start to capture. So when I show you some sites that you can go to for data harvesting, these are the things that I'd want to make sure I knew, at least at this point, as I dump them into my funnel. What's the name of the organization? And the reason that I have that on here, remember, organizations tend to be immutable. They're going to be the same organization over and over and over again. People change. Organizations don't tend to change, right? What is their market segment? So are they association-based? Are they nonprofit? Because not all associations are nonprofit. Are they faith-based? Are they corporate? Are they government? Are they military or fraternal? Or whatever it may, are they youth-based? Whatever it may be, what is the market segment for this particular person you're going to add to your data? Next thing I have on there is code. So when I'm showing you some of the examples or pages you can go to, and this is, by the way, being recorded, and you'll be able to see all of the slides as well. So don't worry about feeling like you have to write everything down here. You'll be able to see and hear this and go to the sites that I'm going to show you. But what was always important to me, and what's still important to me, because we do this every day. Unique Venues does this every day. New planners to put into the system, new venues to put into the system. And we code people. We code them as to whether or not they are a hot prospect or a warm prospect, whatever it is that you want to tag them as. But you want to be able to put out there when you're data harvesting for your initial time. Remember, these things can always be changed, what their initial code is. And we'll talk about the use of that in a little bit. Their first name, their last name, and of course, any designations. If they're a PhD, if they're a CMP, certified media professional, certified hospitality management professional, whatever it might be, it's always good to recognize if there's a designation in the contact, because people have worked hard for those, and we want to recognize that. And that shows them that when you start to reach out to them, that you've recognized their accomplishment as well. You want to know what their title is. And the reason you want to know what their title is because when you start getting bounce backs because, so-and-so from such and such organization who was the director of events has left, and they don't tell you who the replacement is, you can still reach out by title or do some additional data mining for that title for their replacement. So titles are important. Email is very important. Work phone is important. Mobile phone's a really nice thing to have. Their address, their city, state, and province or postal zip code. The lead source, because we're going to talk about tracking the success of your data mining later. And so you want to understand where the lead source is coming from. And then any kind of notes that you have from when you're looking at these people and you're reading about their meetings and their events and what they have, any kind of notes that you want to add. So that's some of the data you want to make sure you capture. So if you're that person that does not have a CRM, a customer relations management system like a Salesforce or an Insightly or whatever it may be, a free agent, a spreadsheet with these titles and putting this information in can also suffice, because spreadsheets can be sorted as well, correct? So any questions, Joel, before I go on? Or Al?
No, there are no active questions at the moment, so keep rolling through.
Okay, great. Now, there's different kinds of market segments that you can think of. And today we're going to try to address some options for finding resources and data for all of these. So there's the professional, faith-based, some social, and some youth camps and retreats. And there's all different ways that you can go about looking for these things. So I'm going to give you an example. We did data harvesting at Unique Venues this past week because we decided that one of the ways we can serve our clients right now is to connect the venues who had any interest in the US or Canada, who had any interest in being a part of emergency response, as far as being able to offer their venues or their catering or whatever it may be. We did data harvesting. We put one person on it and we said, we want you to find all of the emergency management organizations in Canada, all of the federal emergency management associations in the United States, all of the provincial and statewide emergency management, governors, lieutenant governors' offices, and we built that into our database so that we can do outreach to let them know, here's a list of venues that are available. It was time well spent. We have that information now. Hopefully we'll never have to send things out again, but we've had situations where there was a major flood in Calgary a few years ago, and we could have helped. Now that we have this data, we could have helped with the Alberta Emergency Management Organization. We've had hurricanes in the US, and we could have helped with that. So having this information now gives us a new way to reach out. But here's the other way it helps us, and it's, again, an unintended consequence. The spirit of us harvesting the data was to help in this emergency response. But these people have conferences and events in the future, and now they're also in our database so that when we're advertising places to hold meetings, conferences, and events, they're now part of it. So your data always can work for you, right? So you want to make sure that you really do put the time and energy into this. When I worked at the conference center at Pitt Johnstown, which I see there's somebody on there. How you doing? I'm excited to see Pitt Johnstown present today. But when I worked there, we harvested all of our data through the use of student interns. At Unique Venues, we harvest all of our data through the use of student interns. So I would tell each of you, so now in this kind of not so great time that we're faced with, this is your job, or anybody on your team who's fully employed right now or part-time employed right now. This is a task for people to do. This is a way to be indispensable right now. But once we get through this, to keep your harvesting going, I would encourage you to find some marketing students at nearby universities or community colleges or trade schools to come in and help do this work. It's a great learning platform for them as well. So keep your data harvesting going. So in some cases, I've delineated the resources that I'm going to show between Canada and the United States, because in some cases they're very Canadian specific. In other cases, they're very US specific. Now, in other cases on future slides, it tends to be both more North American based or worldwide based. But this first one is more kind of separated between Canada and the United States. So I want to make sure, and I do apologize if we have anyone on here who is from a country other than the United States or Canada. I do apologize, but I think what we're talking about today is very transferable. You can go ahead and do your own searches for the sites, but 100% of the venues we represent are in these two countries. So I focused on Canada and the US. So knowing that, again, based upon our own research, that 90% of the venues we represent come from a not-for-profit segment themselves. Either they're a museum or they're a university or they're a historical or cultural venue or whatever it may be. They're faith-based, whatever it may be. I wanted to look up some great resources for not-for-profits. The other thing I know is that while it's not true for everyone, a lot of our venues tend to be more affordable than your traditional Hiltons, Hyatts, Westins, and all of those in the world. So I feel like not-for-profit organizations are really good low-hanging fruit for a good number of venues that we serve. So I started going on and looking for some lists that might be of use for you to go and to find information about groups that represent not-for-profit organizations. So here's one from Canada. So I'm going to be pulling up my website here. So this is AMC NPO Solutions. And so this is a list of nonprofits in Canada. It's segmented out by the various provinces and regions within the provinces. So I'm sorry, areas, it looks alphabetical within the provinces. So just if I click through Alberta right here, what I'm going to get is a list of associations in Alberta. Now, the thing about this is these aren't linked. So what do I do because these aren't linked? This does not mean this has to be a dead end. What I'm able to do is I'm able to, find the Alberta Association of Agricultural Societies. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. All right. And now I'm going to go to this thing called Charity Directory. Now, Charity Directory gives me the ability to then go ahead and put that in and find that charity. Now, this one I didn't find, but you can go in and find just about any of them on there. I happened to pick one that's not on there, but the truth of the matter is you can then use this Charity Directory to find that organization. So in that particular example, you've got a whole list of all of these different associations. It's in Alberta. It's, or you can look in Ontario or you can look in Nova Scotia and you can find them. Now, you can also be part of this organization, sign up, log in, and register, and that will give you all of the detailed information. So you can either go through these, look and say, that sounds like something that might be interesting to me. You can pull this whole list and say, I would love to have somebody go out and mine for that and start to put it into a spreadsheet. But this is a single source for finding a list of associations in the province in every province. Here's another one that I found interesting. These are this is the Globe and Mail, and this is what they list as the 10 largest or top, 100 largest organizations, charitable organizations in Canada. And again, you can use the charity directory to look up the information on each and every one of these as well. As we go on, Charity Village for me was probably like the gold mine that I found. So if I click on organization directory, there are all different kinds of organization categories listed here. So say I'm interested in human rights and civil liberty organizations. I click through that. Here I get a list of all of the different human rights and civil liberty organizations and associations they have listed on their site. There's a ton of them. And now I can go ahead and I can click on these and I can get more information to them. So if I click on this one here, again, it's random, so I have no idea what's going to happen. So this is the website. It takes me there. I can go here. I can look for contact us and get their information. Right there it is. I can go to staff. I could go to the board of directors. I can look at all different types of things and find out who it is that I should be reaching out to in the organization and start to build my data there. In the US, there was GuideStar. GuideStar, again, similar to what I just showed you with Charity Village, has a whole list of different associations, association categories. And then you can drill it down to international, you can drill it down to US only, you can drill it down by states, and then you can click through and you can see information about, oh, let's just get rid of that. You do not need a password to access this information because I did not have it earlier. Hold on a second. Let me go back here. Sorry about that. I did not need that information earlier. So if I go arts and culture and I go humanities, okay, they're saying something about my browser is making them think I'm suspect because I'm using it with superhuman speed. This didn't happen earlier today, so I have no idea why that is happening. So I have to click to verify right here. And I'm not going to do that. I'll let you do that. But for some reason, they think that I'm superhuman, and I'm not. But this is a really great site. It was a really, really great site. I was on GuideStar earlier today, and I loved it. Another one, 501c3 Lookup. You can go here, and you can look up any kind of group, association, or whatever you want here. So if I pick association right here, and I pick professional societies, and I click search here, I'm going to get a list of different associations, and they're going to be in geographic. And you can go in and keep drilling down if you want. There are different filterings. But then if I go through here and I click through, I'm going to get information about the California Association of Business Bankers. There's going to be their address, their EIN number, if that's important to you. And then you're going to have to do more research. I mean, that's part of this. This is why having a marketing student do this, it's good work for them, because you're saying, now I want you to go here, and then I want you to find for the California Association of Business Brokers all of the information you can possibly find about them for their meetings, conferences, and events. So again, this is not, I'll tell you, there's an alternative if you don't want to do the work, but the alternative's a little bit dangerous. And the alternative is that you can actually do a lot of this by buying lists, okay? But there's a problem with buying lists, and take it from people who have bought lists before, that lists come at a cost and no guarantees. They'll tell you they guarantee, but typically 50% of what we buy at unique venues isn't good, and then you have to fight because you spent, $10 a name or $5 a name, and then they're bouncing back and nobody's there. And, you know, it becomes, and to me, I believe in doing the work myself and finding the information that is of benefit to me. Here's another one I found today. A lot of these I found today, Melissa Lookup. So I'm in Fairfax, Virginia, and I hit submit. These are nonprofit organizations, and I get a list of all of the nonprofit organizations listed in my zip code, postal code, and then I could go ahead and I can click on any of these and gain more information about them. And so gives you the name of the person, all of those things. So again, I found this to be a great resource. Okay, so this gives me the opportunity to have more information that I can add to my database. My favorite of all of them is Great Nonprofits. I love nonprofits. I wish this were in Canada. I have to be honest, I didn't look to see if Great Nonprofits was in Canada, but so I'm going to find nonprofits. Again, I'm in Fairfax, Virginia. So I'll go there, I'll hit search. And when I hit search, I get a list of all of these different nonprofit organizations that I can add. I can click on them and find more out about them. And then I can decide if this is an organization that I might want to add to my database. Okay, so just another resource there to consider when it comes to nonprofits. Joel, any questions at this point?
I think we had one come in on chat I just saw pop in that says, is LinkedIn Sales Navigator worthwhile? And I'm not sure if you've got any individual experience with it, but that was a question that was asked.
So I know people who have used LinkedIn Sales Navigator as a tool, and they have found it to be very, very beneficial. I'll tell you, I would personally, we don't use that, right, Allison? No, we're not using that. But I will tell you how I would use LinkedIn, and I'll tell you how I would use social. Every single one of these organizations that you look up, that you find somebody that you feel might be a good lead to put into your database, look for that contact person on LinkedIn and connect with them on LinkedIn. The second thing you want to do is look for their organization's LinkedIn page, connect with their organization's LinkedIn page. Third thing you want to do is you want to go to that organization's Facebook page and connect with them on their Facebook page. I would not connect with an individual on their Facebook page because that's more personal, but the organization's Facebook page, you want to follow them. And I would do the same if they have an Instagram page or whatever it may be. Connecting with anybody you consider to be a good lead that you've harvested, you should then take that step to make the connection socially with these people, or professionally, socially with these people. Does that make sense?
Sounds good. Let's keep rolling with the presentation, and we'll take a break again shortly. Okay.
Some more of my fun ones now. This one I was having a hard time getting into earlier today. So we're going to let that one just, it's allconferences.com. We're going to let this wheel spin. I don't know if anybody, Joel, can you get into allconferences.com? Because for some, oh wait, here it is. It's blocked. That's my problem. Up there it comes in. All right. So can everybody see my screen now? Is it showing on there, everyone? Joel? Joel?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, it is shown. Okay. So here when I go to allconferences.com, I can find a list by different categories. I can look in specific locations. Here I could pick USA, I could pick Canada. So if I were going to pick, for instance, USA, and again, it does take a little bit of time to get through. For some reason, it's very slow. Then I can do that. I can pick by different categories. So say I picked education, and I'm not sure why it's taken so long. This is one of those online presentation nightmares happening right here, so I do apologize. I'm going to let this one rest. Oh, here it comes. It's coming up there. It's loading. I apologize for the time it's taking. All right. And now when I get to education, I can do more filtration. So here's all of the different categories under education. Here are all of I can pick my country, I can pick a state, I can pick, so maybe you're somebody that's summers only, so you can pick the ones that start at the beginning of the summer and end at the end of the summer. Maybe you're looking for certain shoulder periods. Maybe you're very light with conference business from February through or January through February of every year. And so you want to look at those that start during those times in your state or your province. These are all filters you can use here on allconferences.com. And then once you get through, you're going to be able to see all the information. Now, here's everything. I'm going to try to just do United States here and see what happens. Refine my search here. And again, it's taken a little bit of time, but this does give you a lot of information about their conference. And so this is one of my favorite ones. It usually does move much more quickly. Okay, so here's the United States. This shows all of the different conferences, and you can pick a year. So it's shown past conferences, it will show future conferences, whatever it is that you want to do, you set the begin date. But when you click through, and again, sorry for the delay, you get a lot of detailed information. So here's one that was held at Columbia University Faculty House, New York, those types of things. So you can go in and start to mine for this data on this conference and find out, email the organizer. You can do all kinds of information from here. So this is a fantastic resource right here, even though it's showing a little slow right now. I wanted to show that a lot of chambers also offer information. Chamber.ca actually offers a list of associations in Canada, and you can get that same type of information a lot of other places as well. But I thought this was a really, really good resource, especially for those of you in Canada, that shows different association members of the chamber.ca, and then you can click through and get different information, look and learn about their events. I know this says Edmonton Business and Marketing Community. Again, this is Canadian based, but this is all professional organizations in Canada. I thought this was fantastic, and you can click through these and get information about different organizations and associations in Canada. So again, even though it was an Edmonton business portal, it shows associations throughout Canada, and I thought this was a great resource for Canadians. Also, Wikipedia has a lot of information. So I can do this, and I can do this for Canada, I can do this for the US, I can do this for a state. So I could do you can go to Wikipedia and you can do a search for Pennsylvania associations. And when I do that, I'm going to get results for associations in Pennsylvania. Okay, so you can find all kinds of information through Wikipedia as well. And I know people laugh about Wikipedia because they have this notion that anybody can go in there and put anything up. I am going to tell you that that is not true. And the reason I know it's not true is that Unique Venues has been trying to get a Wikipedia page for years, and it is like jumping through rings of fire to get your page approved by them. So the truth is, I think this is information that you can, for the most part, trust. Okay? Moving on. Here's All Conference Alert, again, Canadian and US. This is great. You can look up all different types of conferences. So you just have to, you have to narrow it down to your region. So you can pick Canada, you can pick the United States, you can pick the different disciplines that you're looking for. So whatever it is you might be best at. And then when you click through, you get a whole list of conferences that happen worldwide by date that you can go in and start to data harvest for and read which ones you might be most interested in. All right. And then here's another one, 10 Times USA. Here, this is mostly, this is states-based. You can look up, oh no, it looks like you can view other countries as well. So I do apologize. It looks like Canada would be listed here. So this is good for both. You can look up different cities. You can look up in different countries. You can look up different categories, and then you get the information. You can click through, and you can go out and start to add those as well. Okay. Maybe you are strictly focused on social. Eventbright is yet another opportunity for you to do some outreach, because you can go to Eventbrite's landing page, pick whatever state you're in, and then you can pick whatever city you want to pick, and then you're going to get, now it's a little bit weird right now on Eventbrite because almost everything they're listing is an online event, but this is a great tool to use as well. Some of these are later and they're in person and they're showing different places. And so you want to go and look at some of these social events and see if you might be able to host some of them. Okay. So what is something you might be able to host? You have to go through, you have to be willing to put in the work and say, I'm not going to be able to host a comedy club because this is a comedy club host, and so I'm going to move past that. But look, this looks like some kind of a competition. It's at a place that's not necessarily directly in line with what they are, so maybe this is something we can host as well. Your youth tour groups, if you're somebody that wants to just host people for different youth tours, maybe you want to feed these groups, maybe you want to invite them to your historical or cultural location, whatever it may be. You can just go right to this link, cita.org, and you can go and you can find all of the different tour operators. So you can just go to find tour operators, and you can start to list these and take these different tour operators and add them all to your database. And you can let them know if you're looking to come to, if you're looking to come to Chicago this summer with your tour groups, we would love for you to come and bring your group to the Field Museum, or we'd love to house them at such and such Conference Chicago, whatever it might be. So this is another source for you to do some data mining as well. If you are a restaurant, you want to write to these and say, if you're going to be bringing tours to Washington, D.C., we'd be very interested in working with you on dining packages for your group. So there's lots of different ways that you can use this tour group. Now, this is just youth tours, but maybe you're somebody that wants to work with tours all year round and you prefer to work with adult tours. Just doing searches, there are directories out there for tour operators, something you might want to tap into. These are youth conferences right here. And so you can go through here and you can there's 437 conferences listed. You can pick where it is that you're interested in, and then you can start to look and see some of the different conferences that are available to see if this is something you might be interested or able to host as well. So this is worldwide right now, but you want to go ahead and set your filters up. Yellow Pages is one of my favorite places. So I'm going to show you, it's different in the US and Canada. But I did one for wedding planners in Ontario, Ottawa. I hit search and I get this list of wedding planners. Now, some of them are not planners. Some people, like the Courtyard Restaurant, they're more of a wedding location. So you have to go through here, and again, you have to do the work to find out who is really a wedding planner and who is not a wedding planner. And so you need to go through and do the work to do that. If I go back to my presentation and I click on pages, I get the US. And so if I'm looking for wedding planners in Arlington, Virginia, whoops, sorry, I just clicked on an ad. I don't know what I just clicked on an ad for, but I'm going to go back here. So here I have superlative events, HJ planners, Joyful Awakening. Now the US one gives you more of a little bit of a description about, so it's a lot easier without having to click through to say they are wedding planners, not suppliers. So, but these are people you can click through, you can get their information. You can just go like this and copy this and put it into a spreadsheet and then build out your different columns. So, and then another one of my favorite things is a phone number search. Another place where you can go ahead and harvest data from is to do a search on some of your competitors' phone numbers. And so I've done that here. This was somebody I used to compete with. And so when I do that and I put in their phone number, that's their main toll-free number, I see all of the different conferences that are going to be planned there or were planned there. And I can look through, I can then do some searching to find out who their contact is, because I thought, well, if they can meet there, they can meet at our place. I'm going to add them to my database. I'm going to start to reach out. But when I put in their number, here's the League Spring Sustainability Conference, PASSA, Social Work Symposium, Pennsylvania Association of Environmental Educators, the Center for Rural Pennsylvania, and I can just click through page after page. Do not be discouraged if you go to the first page of the search results and you don't see much, because Google, like everybody else, is going to put their most relevant data on the first page. So information about that actual venue and any third-party directories they may be listed in are going to go there, because for Google, that's the most relevant data. So you have to go to page 2, page 3, page 4. That's when you're going to find things where people have been listing that particular venue for registration for overnight conferences. Any questions, Joel?
So one thing I want to note really quickly is that in the earlier poll, I think only one person had said they used the yellow pages as a data mining source. And I'm of a certain age where I'm probably imagining many others might have been thinking that old bound thing that got thrown in your driveway once a year. And so I was waiting for this one to come up just to show that there's really a lot of great information on the yellow pages that you can pull down from a data perspective. We have had one question in a couple different settings where people are asking, like, with all this data that we're going to get right now and doing that, how would you recommend doing outreach right now during the crisis? What kind of approach do you take to not be too salesy, but still at least maybe start to build awareness or make some initial contact and outreach with people? What do you recommend?
So right now, again, remember the statistic I gave, 75% of people are still looking. I don't think and I'm going to go way back here. Sorry, I'm going way back here. You're up here. You're awareness building. That's all you're doing right now. I don't think right now, I will be honest with you, I'm a salesperson. I know that it's an important time for companies that rely on revenue generating business to grow and people booking things. But at the same time, I think it's highly insensitive to be asking people for money or to contract or to do anything unless they lead that discussion. So I would be very awareness oriented right now. Any outreach I do is to say, during this time, we know that people aren't meeting and gathering right now, but in the future they will be. And we just want you to know that when that time comes, we're here and we'd love to talk with you. So it's more about the future orientation, about being able, but right now, you may want to just get to know us a little bit. I would even do a campaign that says, well, there's a little bit of time on our hands. Would love to get to know you. Here's how you can get to know us, and, direct them to information. So it's all about building awareness. It's never asking for their business. Right now, I would not ask for their business. And like I said, it is happening. It is definitely happening. We had a client call us and booked a deep 6-figure conference last week on a lead that was sent last week. So it happens. It's just not happening that much at this point. But again, people are looking and trying to gain information. One of the best things I've been telling people to do, is one of the best outreaches, is just to put together maybe a compilation of, a testimonials page or something where you can send to people a message from your general manager saying, here's what we're doing right now during this time, and talk about the things that you're preparing for when the floodgates open and how you're going to be ready for them. So again, it's more about them getting to know you as opposed to asking them to do business with you. It's kind of like, think of it like online dating. Right now, you're just like looking for the right matches that you want to add to your database. And you're building basically your presence. So whatever you send to them, it's kind of like what they would see if they are doing a search for someone to date. It's pictures and it's general information, you know, where they get to know you a little bit. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. And this is your 10-minute warning. So let's go ahead and keep rolling with slides. And
okay, I gotta
we'll
hurry.
have at least one question to ask at the end. So
okay, let's hurry. So what do you do with this information once you get it? So first of all, you want to make sure you're storing the information in a good CRM or spreadsheets. We've talked about that. But you want to use that information for things like email marketing campaigns. So, you know, email marketing campaigns can be good and they can be bad. If they're not targeted, they're a waste of time. If they're not relevant, they could be a waste of time. If they're not put together in a way that avoids any kind of spam risk, which any good email software, online software tool is going to help you to identify if there's a spam risk or not. But being able to email people, again, right now, don't email them and say, book your conference now, because they're going to say, where's this person been? Like, do they not know what's going on? But it might be more of a emotional kind of connectivity where you're kind of speaking to where we're at right now and letting them know that when the time comes, you're going to be ready for them. And if they would like to see, you know, click to watch this image gallery, you know, of our venue or something like that. Direct email, just reaching out to people saying, you know, and again, you can probably translate what I'm saying for what to do after this is over to what to do now. But, you know, what to do after this over is to write a direct email to people that you have high interest. Again, you go back to your coding. And if you have really high interest in a potential client, then they deserve to get a very direct email from you, direct being between you to them, not direct like, you better use our site, but direct like, hi, my name's Chuck Salem, and you know, I'm the general manager of the conference center at blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I've taken the time to learn more about your organization, and you might want to name the organization. And I've noted that you were at Toft Trees in the past. And you know, I'd love to invite you down to take a look at our conference center, because I feel like we can offer you, based upon what I've seen on your event page, we feel like we can offer you a great experience here. That kind of thing. Direct mail, again, good, relevant direct mail works. Bad, irrelevant direct mail does not work. But everybody kind of abandoned direct mail, which means that when somebody actually gets something in the mail that makes sense, they look at it and pay attention to it. Phone calls, you know, making a good direct phone call to someone. Face-to-face sales calls are excellent. Inviting people to come experience you through fam tours. One of the things, if you watch Facebook Live, last Friday on my Facebook Live, I challenged everybody to develop some new experiences, because your profile at Unique Venues can actually list experiences that people can take advantage of when they're at your venue. And so I challenge everybody to come up with some great experiences. And so maybe you put together and you invite some of your top prospects that you've put in and you're engaging with to your venue for a really fun experience, you know? So that's the kind of thing. Come take advantage. We offer this experience at our venue. Come take advantage of it. We invite you to be our guest. So there's all kinds of things that you can do, and it all goes back to the funnel, and it all goes back to the first 2 sales workshops that are recorded on uniquevenues.com/resources. So, and those are free for you to access. So I just wanted to show you what a good example of a prospect, what might look like, what a record looks like: first name, last name, organization name, their address, those types of things, their email with a link that you could probably send an email directly out to them. You can put all different kinds of things. What's nice, a lot of CRMs give you the opportunity to put in client determined fields. And so you can put in market segment, you can put in codings. So you add your own client specific fields to those kinds of things. And then you can run reports and you can track. You want to know what prospects are turning into clients and how that's helping you. So you want to track your data, and some of those trackable fields would be things like your market segments. So when I look and see who actually booked with us, what market segments are we most successful with? What code? I'm, knowing that, wow, this is interesting, because I would have guessed that my hot leads would have been the ones that would have booked. But look how many people that started out as a cold prospect converted to a hot prospect. Then you can learn from the things that you did, the steps that you took to convert them to that. Titles, again, who's doing the booking? Doing some research on who are the titles that I'm interacting with the most. Area codes, where are your planners coming from the most? Same with postal codes and lead sources. Track your communications that you do through your CRM and track your bookings. So I showed you what a booking, tracking your bookings might look like, because you're able to look and see right here, what's the name of the event? What's the organization? Here's market segment. Here's your lead source. Here's your revenue. So you're able to run all kinds of reports, and a good CRM will allow you to run all kinds of reports that help you track, and it helps you put your focus on where it is you should put your dollars and your time when it comes to marketing and developing and prospecting. So I have a challenge for everybody. Okay. Now, we still have well over 200 people here. Here's my challenge. Anyone who can demonstrate that they mine 100 or more new contacts. So you have to provide proof. I was not born yesterday. Neither was Joel. So don't try to pull the wool over our eyes and send us a list of people that you harvested a year ago, or leads that came in last year. We want you to be above board, and we want you to send us proof that you have actually mined 100 or more new contacts by May 31st of 2020. And everyone who provides that proof to Joel by May 31st will be in a drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card. Okay, so we want to see that you're taking this information and you're doing something with it. Bring it to life. This means nothing. None of those links, none of those are going to work for you. And the days of all kinds of people just coming direct into you all the time, that's not going to happen like it used to, because the way technology works now is it's our job to go to them. So we're giving you all kinds of tools here to find people. And with that, I just want to say, any last questions, Joel, before we say thank you?
Yeah, there's one that I left open that either you or Allie could answer, which is, how do you recommend we add email addresses to internal lists without permissions? So talk a little bit about the permissions issues for mining data and adding emails and then starting to blast stuff out to them.
Are you going to go, Allie? You want me to go?
I can answer from my standpoint. I'm the director of marketing for Unique Venues. So I do handle a lot of the email campaigns that go out we use MailChimp for our, email campaign system. I work very closely with our director of sales, and he and I both came to an agreement that if it's somebody that's even questionable or a new contact, he and his team on the sales side will reach out to them with a personal email first, and then get the conversation going so that we can have permission to add them to our mass email campaigns that go out. Now, if you're in Canada, the situation is going to be different because they have different laws than we do. So we will not give permission to send an email blast through any email campaign source like MailChimp.
All right. Chuck, anything to follow up on that, or that? Again,
no. Well, the only thing I would say is that, in our CRM that we use, which is called Free Agent, and you're probably wondering why we don't use Event Guru. Well, because Event Guru, we actually own it, but that's more for venues. Free Agent is more for what we sell as memberships, and we actually track. So we have an intentional field in free agent that says permission to send email, yes or no. And I believe it's now a required field for our team in there, right, Allison? Have we gone through and made that a required field that we've gone through and identified for you and your team? Permission yes, permission no. So we're not sending any email out to anybody that we're not permitted to. Again, the laws are different in the US and Canada. In the US, we're more like you can opt out, but in Canada, you kind of have to opt in, if that makes sense, and if I said that right. So in Canada, unless they say they want to talk to you, you can't talk to them. And in the US, you can talk to them until they say they don't want to talk to you.
Perfect. All right. Well, we don't have any other outstanding questions. I've thrown the slide up on the screen that shows our upcoming webinars that are still out there. Next week, Chuck and I will be doing a Life After COVID-19 session with NACIS, and they did open up more seats in that. So if you were originally waitlisted, you should be in. And if you still would like to sign up for it, you can do that. We have the third Preparing for the Rebound webinar next week, Perfecting Your Presence. It'll be tips for essential things that should be on everybody's website or on your Unique Venues profile. And then we have 2 more wellness workshops scheduled, one next week and one early the following week, from Dr. Michael Brown, DMV Coaching. We had one on emotional well-being earlier this week. It was well attended and had great feedback. So please join us for those if you're available. And we're working right now that it looks like this is going to push out into May. We've got the next set of webinars coming very soon, hopefully early next week. We'll add to the growing list of things that we're doing, and we'll carry us out through mid-May or so with some more educational opportunities. So with that, I just want to say thank you again to Chuck for sharing some great information today, and Allie for helping me get through this. It's really great to see and hear from all of you. I will follow up with the stuff that we talked about, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day. Take care, and we'll see you on a future webinar.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.